What's good, fellas? So I want to get straight into this talking about identity and standards. And really, this was the most important thing to actually getting me to go D1. It wasn't necessarily specific 40 time, a specific camp performance. It was my actual identity and standards of, right, I lived how I am now since about the age of 13, right? 6 years. I'm 19 now. 6 years, I lived the same standard. And that actually allowed me to go D1. It wasn't like in 6 months I had this crazy transformation that made me blow up. I got recruited a bunch. No, it was the standard that I lived for years. And I want to get you guys to actually understand that and start living that so you can get into that same D1 position that I was. So in my old identity, I was a fat kid on the O line when I first started playing football. I wasn't very good at all. This is kind of the funny part. And eventually I started training because I wanted to get better. And I tried doing everything my own way. I had too much of an ego because I saw some progress, right? I knew a little bit of what I was doing. I saw some progress and was able to keep training well. But right, it didn't give me what I wanted. And that was the biggest thing that held me back for so long. And then as well, my emotions controlled my habits. Like on days I wouldn't feel like training, right? I wouldn't train, or I'd go show up and I'd put half effort in. That's really not what I needed to do. And then there were times I was super locked in where I thought I was working hard enough, right? I know going into my freshman year was some of the hardest I ever worked, and I thought it was enough, but it was really I was doing a bunch of work that didn't really have structure to it. Like I was just working, right? And I want to give you some analogy. Okay, if it's all about how hard you work, why aren't guys in the gym 8 hours a day, right? Because there's only so much your body can handle, right? Your body is a system that you can't just throw everything at it and it's going to adapt. That's simply not how it works. So right, it's not just working hard enough. You actually have to work smart. And this is where my identity came in. But how do I actually change it? So my identity shifted through identity auditing questions. And eventually I got to where I am now, right? D1 linebacker, I emphasize structure. I focus a lot on discipline over motivation. And I have an identity loop that allows me to stay locked in, right? I want to show you that exact process of how I got there. So, identity auditing questions. Get a notebook out, write these down because these are going to be crucial for your success. And these are the type of things I would think about on a daily basis. What would the D1 version of myself be doing right now? Is this casting a vote towards the person I want to become? And what type of results do I deserve? So I'd like to think about this big first question. What would the D1 version of myself be doing right now? It's a big one. I mean, the higher you make the stakes with this, the more clear it's going to be. So if I were to say, as a freshman in high school, if I were to say, okay, what would the Super Bowl champion version of Jacob be doing right now? The answer would get a lot more clear because simply there aren't a lot of options to become a Super Bowl champion. Right? You want to go out with your friends, you probably can't. You have to study, right? You got to think about there's about 1 million high school football players, and right, there's 50 Super Bowl champions a year, right? The odds are insanely small. So it's when you put the stakes like that, you put it in a version like that, that makes it so obvious and so clear that there really is only one right decision. Because when you're trying to be great, I don't really believe in free will, right? There's only one way through. That's going to be doing the work. Like there isn't really time to slack around or simply kind of just mess around. And in reality, you can mess around and make it to the D1 level, right? If you're trying to make it right to that professional level and actually do very successfully, right? It's going to be tough. And you can raise the standards of this saying, what would the NFL version of yourself be doing right now? And it's going to become very clear, right? You should be putting in the extra work after practice, watching film, sleeping, eating enough, right? All those things are going to start to become so painfully obvious. And if you haven't been doing them, right, there's an issue, which we will talk about. You're not acting in alignment. Is this casting a vote towards the person I want to become? Okay, so right, you don't have to win every vote. You think about someone getting elected, they don't have to win a majority vote, and they'll still win. Right, and that's the same thing with yourself and who you want to become. You don't have to win every single vote of sleeping 9 hours a night, but if you sleep 9 hours a night 4 times a week, and you get 7 hours a night 3 times a week, right, you're still winning votes. And that's the goal with this. You don't have to be perfect because I think that's going to put extra pressure on yourself. And right, this first question above does put a little pressure on yourself, but that can be good at times. Having that pressure is going to allow you to actually, right? Pressure, I believe, is going to create you into the person you want to become. When I have pressure, I raise to that pressure. I feel when I get that pressure, I work faster. I'm more dialed in because I know there's expectations with it. When I have zero pressure, that's when I get lazy and start slacking. So, right, the first question creates pressure. The second question allows you to understand you don't have to be perfect with it. And then the third puts you back into reality. What type of results do you deserve? So take this as an unbiased question. Like even ask a coach, a friend, someone who knows what they're doing in this space, what results do you deserve? Okay. You've been training 3 days a week, you've been sprinting once a week, and you want power four offers. Do you deserve it? Realistically, probably not in all reality. Right. So that's understanding. Talk to someone and see what you deserve. If they're not saying something that you don't deserve, it's not their fault. They're giving you an honest answer as long as like you chose a good person to talk to, but you're doing something wrong. And you need to start acting in alignment with that. And we're going to get into that here in a second. So right, don't get butthurt at them, but you need to understand, right, you're doing something wrong that's giving others the perception that you're someone else than what you want to be. And that's not going to get you to where you want to go. So write these questions down and we're going to move on. So did you answer truth 100% truthfully and get an answer you wanted? That was what I just talked about. So there's yes, and then there's no. We're going to go down the no path first. So you can reevaluate your goals or actions. Okay. So say you want to play for Alabama football. Okay. Either you can reevaluate your goals of playing for Alabama football or your actions. So let's think about your actions because it's going to be the one that's going to be better for most people. You're going to reevaluate those actions. Am I doing what it takes to be an Alabama football player? You look at even like the top 5-star recruits, and there's a lot of like kind of day in the life videos now. Like, what are they doing? Are you doing exactly what they're doing or not? If the answer is no, right, your actions need to change. And it's not saying their way is completely perfect, but they definitely know a little bit more than you do. They're working with other guys in their corner. They're not just a 5-star 100% by themselves. Everyone has someone in their corner to get where they need to go. It's not, and even myself being at a lower level D1 school, I didn't do this myself, right? IMG Academy right here, I made a big investment to go there and become the best version of myself. I didn't try to do it myself because I understood, right? There's a very finite timeline to getting recruited and becoming a D1 athlete, so you need all the advantages you can get. So you're going to reevaluate those actions and start doing what they're doing, or you can reevaluate the goals and lower the goals in all reality. So, okay, maybe it's not, I want to become an Alabama football player. I want to become a D1 football player. The level to get in from Bama to a low-level FCS school is night and day, right? And that's where you can reevaluate your goals, and maybe that's the right option for you. Like, simply not a lot of people go play at Alabama, but you can reevaluate those goals to see, okay, maybe I need to do this instead. So another way of putting that is either you increase what you sacrifice or you decrease your desire. You increase your sacrifice with changing those actions, or you decrease your desire and you don't want to play for Alabama, you simply just want to play D1. Saying, are you okay with settling for a smaller desire? This is a question, right, that gets you back here. Yes or no? So we'll go yes for now. Changes will be substantially less difficult as you're simply okay with less. And that's not a problem, right? For a while, like I wanted to go play for Alabama, and I realized like it would take a lot more, and realistically the chances were small. So it's like I shifted my desires. That didn't really change the way I worked simply because of how I am, but it could for a lot of people thinking, okay, I want to go play for Alabama. I have to put 110% effort instead of I want to go play D1. I have to put in 100% effort. It's not, by no means am I downplaying going D1 because it's still extremely difficult. Like 2% of guys make it. But going to Alabama, that's like the 0.1%, right? So this is something that I want you to think about because you don't necessarily have to be like the absolute best. Like simply think you have to be the best at everything. It can just, I mean, either it's good or it's bad. Depends how you look at it. Because you could just be pushing back your happiness to the next goal. To be like, okay, I want to go to Bama, then I want to go to the league, now I want to win a Super Bowl. Like, okay, you're probably just going to be pushing back your happiness each time and not actually enjoying the process. Right, that's a topic for another day. So you're okay with change with the changes that are going to be less difficult. So we circle back up here to this, and then your answer will be going down the yes path We'll come back to that. So are you okay settling for a small desire? No, which is not always the correct answer, which I just explained over there. Yes, because of, right, I found myself, I wouldn't be as happy as I wanted to be at times because I was always pushing that back. But I started to understand that and realize that as I got a little older, that's actually about the journey, not the destination, which may sound really cliche, but right, as you get older, you'll start to understand that. So substantial changes must be made if this desire truly means this much to you. So you want to go play, you still want to go play for Bama, and you're not there, like you're not even getting recruited by a D1 school. Okay, substantial changes are going to have to be made, right? And ask and evaluate, what is the real identity I'm living? So it's like, okay, am I living the identity of a Bama football player? Maybe they're training once or twice a day, but they're also getting recovery, watching film, right? They live and breathe football. Okay, are you living that? That's a question for you. Write these down. What identity do I want? And that's the identity you want to be an Alabama football player? Okay. What action do I need to complete on a daily basis to live in alignment with the identity I want? And this one is not 100% certain, but it is easier now to do it. You can find so many day in the lives of Alabama football players or 5-star recruits on YouTube, seeing what they do on a daily basis. It's like, okay, you need to at least do that, if not more, right? You don't necessarily have to spend 8 hours in the gym because that's not going to be beneficial. Like they lift for an hour and a half, you lift for an hour and a half, and they do an hour of recovery. You need to do 2 or 3 hours of recovery, right? They're already at that level, and you basically have to catch up and right, understanding they're working with guys who know exactly what they're doing and have got them to that situation before they've got other guys to that 5-star level, to that power 4 level, and you currently don't have that if you're watching this video, and that's okay, right? We have to find a way to close that gap. So then reevaluate until you have a crystal clear image of where you are and what you need to do on a daily basis to get where you need to go. So it's not like, okay, I think I need to train an extra 30 minutes a day. I think I need to watch 30 extra minutes film. You need to know with a crystal clear in your mind what you want to do. Okay, you find an exact plan that's going to work for your training. You know you're going to watch 100 plays a night of film to study and improve your IQ. You know you're going to go to bed by 10 p.m. every night to get 8 hours of sleep, right? You have to have a crystal clear image or you're simply not going to know because it's going to be too vague. And when things get difficult, it's going to be so vague, it's going to give you options to cop out. You're not going to have to simply be so locked in. It's going to be like, okay, you had options in terms of like, okay, let's say I just want to train an extra hour a day. That's the goal. Instead of like, I have a very specific plan, this set, this rep, right, everything in line. It's like, okay, that extra hour comes up and it's like, okay, you can either do like field work or you can just do like some stretching. Like it doesn't, you're not giving yourself, you can't give yourself a cop out in something like this. You have to be so crystal clear with that image so you actually understand, right, this is what I need to do to get there. And I struggled with this before when I was younger. I'd make plans, they'd be a little too vague, and it's like, okay, something hard happens where right I don't follow through with it. Like one thing I always heard was Kobe Bryant, he'd make his summer training and he'd write a contract to himself that he could not switch it, right? And that's basically exactly what I'm trying to get here. You have to make a plan so clear that you have to stick with it, even on the times it's difficult, especially if you're doing this yourself. You're not working with someone. It's going to be difficult on those days. You're not going to want to show up every day. I don't want to show up every day, even as a D1 football player, and that's expected, right? But somehow you have to find a way to actually do that, and right in whatever way you need to. You find a crystal clear image. You make a contract. You do something like that, so you actually have to show up every day, or you're not going to get where you want to go. So then implement 3+ daily actions immediately. None of this means anything without action. You're watching this video, okay, cool. You're running through it, but it doesn't mean anything if you don't actually do something about it. So you have to, like, if you want drastic change, right, you aren't getting recruited right now, you want to play as a Bama football player, you need to implement immediately with drastic action. So I put 3+ daily actions here, like something like, okay, I'm going to start tracking my habits every day so I know that I'm doing my recovery, drinking enough water, and eating 3 clean meals. Okay, that's one action, right? You're going to meditate or you're going to do a visualization every day. So you start seeing yourself and that success. And you're going to listen to subliminations every day to reprogram your subconscious mind to make sure you're going in the right direction. And really, you think about that, those 3 actions probably take less than 30 minutes total. And if you're not willing to sacrifice that, right, we go back to that no side where you're not willing to increase that sacrifice, so you have to decrease that desire, and you're back on the other side of the board. But continue for 1 week and reevaluate progress. Did you get the results and alignment you're looking for? So let's go no here. No. Then we go back up to here and we follow this loop again. What is the identity you're living? Right? Because now these questions are a little different, right? You added stuff and you're still there, not where you want to be. So you run back through this thing, recycle it again, and you can recycle it as many times as you need to actually understand where you need to go. And eventually you'll get to yes. Once you get to yes, we are back here. Did you answer truthfully and get an answer you wanted to hear? So we just covered this whole no side of the framework right here. Now we're going into the yes side of the framework. Because, right, you have to be very clear with this question because you don't want to take an easy yes because, right, saying no is going to get you a lot more results because you understand you still have more work to do. Right? Answer these questions, write these down. A lot of this you should be writing down. Did you answer 100% truthfully and get an answer you want to hear? Yes. Okay. So just because you get the answer you want doesn't mean there isn't more to be done. And if you haven't realized this at this point, right, I don't know what to tell you because if you think at some point it's going to get easier, it's really not. The challenges, they're just going to change. It's going to get more difficult, right? If you haven't realized by now in your journey, it doesn't get easier. You level up at it, and then at an even faster rate, the boss gets stronger, right? You're getting better as a person. You understand more. You're getting to become close to that version you want. Well, then challenges keep getting harder, right? You went all conference. Let's take mine. I went all conference my sophomore year. Like I felt like I did decent. Okay, and I'm getting better. I trained all off season. Then I went to IMG Academy for my junior year. The challenges got a lot harder there. Then I did okay my junior year at IMG, and the challenges got harder. Where I ended up setting school records my senior year because I trained properly. Where I put in that time to level myself up, and the boss didn't exactly get stronger as much because I'm playing the same comp, but now I'm a freshman in college and it got substantially harder. The level is here, now it's up here, and I'm back at the bottom, right? So boss is going to keep getting level up and it doesn't necessarily get easier. Like I kind of thought it might get a little easier once I got to IMG or college. That's not the case. So if you're looking for balance, you are in the wrong place as well. Or if you want to be great at something, you want to be the top 1% of the 1%, uncommon against of the uncommon, right? Uncommon amongst the uncommon, sorry, right? Balance is not going to be something that you necessarily have, right? You look at my life, I'm not saying I'm in that top 1% of the 1%, and I would not say I have balance. I'm constantly working. I'm not really going out, right? Those are things I'm willing to sacrifice for what I want, even not being in the top 1% I'd consider myself right now. But you are always going to be getting closer to becoming the version of yourself that you want, but you've never arrived in all reality, okay? So you can keep getting closer. I want to be an all-conference linebacker at some point in my college career. I want to keep dominating, right? And I can keep getting closer to it, but I've never arrived. Because if I get that all-conference linebacker, and then it's like, okay, I want to become an All-American. Okay, I want to go to the league, right? You're getting closer, but you're never actually arriving. And it's really the work you're doing is working on you as a person more than you're working on it. You're building more qualities as a person than the actual like outside outputs you're getting of being all conference or going D1, whatever your goal is. So, right, then this creates a loop where you understand that how this keeps kind of flowing together. So inputs, right? That's everything you're doing on a day-to-day basis, your habits, your training, right? Your sleep, your eating, you're putting in all these inputs, like basically all the work you're putting in, and it's going to lead you to outputs, send outputs. That's going to be your actual performance on the field, like your 40-yard dash time decreasing. You get the most tackles you've ever had in a game. You start getting some offers, right? Those are all outputs that came from all those inputs. All right, that's evidence. That's evidence of who you're becoming. So it's like, okay, I say I'm a Bama football player and I just got an offer from Auburn, right? That starts to become evidence like, okay, I might actually be that Bama football player. Their rival is offering me. I'm a lot closer than I think. That's that evidence, right? And when you have that evidence, that leads to reinforcement because, right, when I see like, oh, shoot, Auburn offered me, like, bro, I'm really close. Like, I'm going to start feeling and moving a little different in terms of, right, I believe I'm actually close to that Alabama football player now. But the question is, why weren't you working like that before? Right? That's something that is going to come down, as I'll talk about later, is right reprogramming your subconscious mind and actually your mindset and living in alignment. All three of those things are going to combine so you have that reinforcement before you actually have that evidence so you can speed up your progress like that. Right? And that reinforcement is going to lead to that stronger identity. Okay. And that stronger identity is right the higher level of yourself, that Bama football player, not just that D1 football player, and where you want to go. So then really that is going to lead you to that new identity, right? Where I did. So I basically went through all of that to get me to right where I am now. It wasn't necessarily lined out like this because I struggled. I had to figure all this out on my own. But going through this whole framework and over time, kind of just asking myself yes and no, figuring out where I was, finally figuring out this identity loop up here, right? That got me to this new identity that I wanted, right? Of that D1 linebacker that I am. I emphasize structure now because, right, I was able to understand what are all those things I just talked about. That's all things of structure that's going to help me make it so easy for me to actually put in the work. Then, right, we understand discipline now is greater than motivation. I understand this now. I didn't necessarily when I was younger, okay? Right? You believe that discipline of like, okay, I'm going to show up every day because I made that contract with myself or I have that crystal clear image of what I need to do. It shows, right, on the days I don't feel motivated, I still have to do it because I made that promise to myself. And that momentum identity loop we have up here, right, it just keeps cycling to create that stronger identity. And with that stronger identity, you put in the new inputs, outputs, evidence, and reinforcement, and it's just a never-ending loop, right? And that's the goal. We want to become the best version of ourselves, but we have to find something that's going to allow us to cycle through, and that's what this is. And really, this leads you to transcendence. So you realize when you get here, and I'm not saying I'm arrived, but it's like, okay, I've done all this stuff, and I'm getting a lot closer to where I want to be. And it's like, now you're kind of just, you start to understand once you get closer, because I'd say I've gotten closer to enjoy the actual process of what you're doing, right? It's tough when you're in high school. You're like, bro, like I want to go D1. I want to go play for Bama, whatever school. I want to play for the hometown school, like the hometown college, all that. And you're chasing it. We kind of start to realize like the joy is in the process and who you're becoming, right? And that's what I've started to realize. People always say like, especially in high school, I hear like, bro, you're doing football to become like a better man, a better husband in the future. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, it didn't make sense to me in one bit. But now it does start to make sense to me in terms of, right, I know my college career is going to be done. I'm probably not playing football after that, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. And I understand, like, I'm going to be a family. I'm going to have a family one day, and I'm understanding, okay, this is the level of transcendence where it's like, right, I'm starting to enjoy the process and actually enjoy who I'm becoming as a person to get me to those goals, right? I enjoy training every day. I enjoy spending time with my teammates because I feel like I'm not necessarily in a rush to go anywhere. That doesn't mean I'm not working any less hard, but I'm able to slow down a little bit, enjoy what I'm doing, really, because that's what it is. Life is not about always chasing something new. It's you got to enjoy what you're doing. I mean, there's times in your life where you got to put your head down, you got to grind, and maybe high school is that time for you. You want to go to that D1, you want to set yourself up for the future, and that's really what I did. But looking back, I wish I enjoyed it more, right? I miss high school Friday night lights. Like college necessarily, it isn't necessarily like that. It's different, right? I played in front of Clemson last week. Like that was crazy. There was 80,000 people. That was different, but like high school Friday nights, there's something different about playing in front of your hometown crowd, like all your friends in the stand, playing against your crosstown rivals. There's something a little different about it. So it's understanding. Eventually, once you start to get closer to where you want to go, you'll kind of start to reach this transcendence phase. We start to understand, like, okay, like I just need to enjoy the process and enjoy what I'm doing. So really, that's what I have for identity and standards. It's about becoming the person you want to become. And right, it's not necessarily like there's an answer to this. It's a process, right? There's so many yes and no's in here that'll help you kind of guide your decision making. And if you listened and took notes, right, as you should, you're going to be on the right path. Because really, you can listen to this all 30 odd some minutes or whatever. And if you listen to it, cool, you probably picked up one or two things. You took notes and actually implemented this flow into your life, really can be life changing. Because this is exactly what I did, right, to get me to this D1 level. And if I didn't know